Hello everyone, this is Tina from Taz's Treasures. Today I have 6 cards for you from the Hero Arts September 2021 card kit. Now this first card I'm showing you, I'm doing the inking with the stencils. I have like 4 cards using the same stencil. I'm only showing you the inking it up once. I think you get the idea on how it's done. Now this one is using the 4 ink colors that came with the kit this month. I'm using Butterbar, Caramel, Root Beer, and Key Lime Fizz. And instead of stamping it first and then doing the inking, I am doing the inking and then I am going to stamp afterwards. So as you can see, these are some really pretty colors. Now, when I was putting on this second color, I was a little bit concerned that that was an awful lot of the brown, but I think it turned out really, really well. When you do these stencils, you don't have to follow any certain order. I mean, there is a recommended order, but you can always just play with it and do whatever you think would look, the best. And in this case, I was kind of like, well, yellow sunflowers with the brown centers, and I just went with it. I've been growing sunflowers in my backyard now for probably at least 5 years, and I just love them. And they do come in all different colors for the most part, shades of yellow mostly, but some are more orange and some are, a little bit more yellow. And some have these huge heads, and unfortunately, my sunflowers this year, only 2 of the stalks really made it, but the 2 stalks that did end up living both have multiple flowers on it, so it's kind of nice that way. They're like 4 inches across each of the heads of the flowers, and the birds just love them. It attracts like hummingbirds and little finches, and it's one of the reasons I plant them now every year, just that they end up growing pretty quick. You wouldn't even know you were growing anything in June, and then it seems like in the month of June into July, they are just shooting up, like sometimes 6 inches a day. And I've had like the mega ones, sometimes the 12 feet tall ones, which all it takes is one big storm and boof, they get flown over. So sometimes I'm finding it's better to kind of get some of the smaller varieties, unless you've got like a fence around them or some way to really support them, to stake them up and stuff. That gets to be a lot of work too. I just like throwing some seeds down, and raking them in, and then just seeing what grows. So here I am. Now that is really pretty without the stamp, but I want it to be a little bit more defined, so I'm going ahead and I'm using some Hero Arts ink here. Most everything I did today is Hero Arts, with the few exceptions of some later inks that I use. And I do bring in some papers and some stuff from my stash. I try to stick with all Hero Arts, but this was kind of a limited kit, so I brought in some add-ons for the month, like and this pumpkin here. This was from last year's kit around this time, some add-ons from this time. I think it was either September or October the pumpkins came out. And this is actually the first time I'm using them. So I made them, stamped it up, background stamp, and I thought it would make a really nice background. Now the inks I'm using with this one is, with this one, this is still the first card. What am I talking about? So anyway, yeah, this is what I did with the first card. I glued this on. Now this is a pretty big floral. You have to really play with it to get it to fit on the A2 card. And then you still have to snip off a few edges sometimes here and there. Now I've got this hello die, and this came with the kit, this hello and a thanks. And I backed it with vellum, and I wanted dimensions, so I have like 4 or 5 different hellos stacked on top of each other. And I decided I needed some sequins. So I've got like tons of gold sequins. Now these are some nice size gold sequins that I'm not exactly sure where these gold sequins are from. They might have been like Brutus Monroe, most likely. Because Brutus Monroe, when you do get one of their kits, always gives you a huge amount of sequins to go with it. I know the copper ones were Brutus Monroe that you had seen. So anyway, that's card number 1. Now for card number 2, I took this stamp set that was an add-on that came with a layering pumpkin, and I took some Stampin' Up! Inks. One of them was Pumpkin Pie, and then Mary Merlot, Evening Evergreen, and Garden Green. And I used those for this card along with another background die that came with this, well, came in addition to this month's Hero Arts kit. You could get one with like swirling leaves, and that's what I did, the little bitty strip you're going to see on this card. I also took some ribbon from my stash that I just thought matched this color palette perfectly, a little brown gingham. And I am putting down the ribbon. When I put down ribbon, I like to use like double-sided adhesive and get it nice and flush to the card. It makes it look really neat, and then you don't have to worry about it shifting or anything else along that line. Now, I also took this strip with the leaves that I had stamped out, and I am going to put that on the card as well, but I needed a little bit of cardstock to even it out so it wasn't all bumpy when I put it over the ribbon. I debated putting the ribbon on top, but I kind of wanted the ribbon underneath. I liked the way it looked. I experimented both ways. And now I'm just taking my pumpkin, my bold pumpkin pie and Mary Merlot pumpkin, and I am trying to figure out where I want that on the card so I have room for everything. And first I am going to go ahead and I'm going to tape my card front to the base, because I know I'm not going to be able to do it once I get the bow on top. And I like to keep my bows separate from the strip of ribbon. I think it makes a little bit neater look. And I always use a couple glue dots in addition to some wet glue when I'm putting down bows. That way I can get them to stick right away with the glue dots, and the wet glue should make them stick a little bit more permanent. This way I've got like double protection, and I always try to put glue dots underneath my bow, what are they, like legs? Bow legs. Okay. If you get a better word for them, let me know. So I'm putting my little pumpkin here in the center. I want to make sure I have room for the word hello. That came in the kit. It's the same die I used on the first card, only this one I didn't add a lot of dimension to. But I also needed that brown strip so that the orange hello would stand out. I could have used probably white, but I was trying to keep everything a little bit in this color, this fall color palette. So again, I get the hello down, and I decide I need some bling on this card. So I take the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I just go ahead and I color in my hello. And then I'm also going to take some sequins. Now I'm really trying to get out of my comfort zone with the sequins, and I'm trying to put more and scatter them a little bit more around the cards. And I still go at strictly pretty much a diagonal, but I'm trying not to be so boring with just 2 in one corner and 1 in the other corner. Now my little picker-upper sticky thing, my wax tip on it has got a big crack going through, so I'm going to have to either find the replacement, or this moving on to card number 3. Now this card, I did not end up stamping it. I like the way it looked with just the stencil instead of the stamp. And I also used the swirling leaf background stamp that was an add-on to this month's hero kit. So I took this the stenciled die cut, and I'm trying to figure out where I want it on the card. Now, at this point, I know I want it split in half, and I decide just to take a leap of faith and cut it down the center. And I'm trying to figure out where I want it on the card. You know, do I want it on the top and the bottom? That fits really well that way, but the hello just didn't look as good there as it did when I decided to have the flowers kind of going at a diagonal again. So I glued these on the card, and I've got the one on the one side, and I'm gluing the other one on the other side, as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that hello right in the middle. Now that hello is stacked with a few, it's got a brown one, a craft paper one, and then a white one, and then that's on top of vellum. And before I do that, I decide that these sunflowers need splatter. So I put them in a box with a little why can I always mess up that word? A little gouache with water, and I get that all splattered on my card. And I'm impatient, so I take a heat gun and I dry that up. It only takes a few seconds to get that nice and dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the hello in the center of the card. But I guess I decide I want to tape it to the card base first. So that's what I do, using my score buddy to line it all up and get it nice and flat there. And then I glue my little hello to the center of the card. Now this is where I decide that the copper sequins that I had out earlier would look really pretty with this. And as I started kind of rooting around in the sequins, I saw there was some totally flat little sequin discs in there. So I decided those were a better size, and I like them when they're flat. You don't have to worry about them popping off your card quite as much. So I dug in there and got all little flat ones. Now, if you kind of look, I've got the flowers going in one direction and all of the sequins kind of going in another direction, kind of making a big X. And it really kind of draws your eye right into the hello. So I get these all glued on. And that's going to be card number 3. And I really do like the way this one turned out with the splatter and the no lines stenciling. And I think it's just really pretty. And I think the hello really stands out a little bit more than some of the orange die cuts on some of the other cards. You'll have to let me know what you think. But I think this one might be my favorite. Now this card, I took a totally different direction. I took that same pumpkin die the stamp that I had used earlier, and I stamped it with some Distress Oxides. I used some Salvage Patina, Broken China, some Kitsch Flamingo, and Picked Raspberry, and I went with totally a different look. And I've got some pink glitter paper here that I am using as the background, and I also decided that I was going to use the glitter paper as my shadow on my word die. So I've got that with the thanks, and thanks is the second word die that came in the kit. We got 2 of them along with a few little stamps as well, but the stamps were small, so I like the size of these word dies. So I am going to pop up the thanks. This is the first card that I have popped up anything on, but I thought that this needed a little something. This is definitely a pretty bright card. Now, I did heat emboss on the bottom of that pink um, for everything that you do. So the card does say thanks for everything that you do. And I ended up, I popped up the pumpkin as well, but I thought there was enough sparkle on this card that I didn't add any more. Now for the fourth card here, I am taking the swirling leaves background die along with the stripe of the background die with the tone-on-tone pumpkins, and I am using a sunflower that's a little bit more yellow and orange than the first one. The first sunflower on the first card was yellow and brown. This one is yellow, orange with brown in the center. And again, this one is using Hero Arts colors. This is some tangerine, creamsicle, green hills, and moss. So I got these all inked up, and I glued down my strip, and now I'm just deciding how I'm going to fit my my sunflowers on there. And I just end up plopping them on the card. I believe they're in the same direction as the first card we did. I think they fit best that way. And I think they're a little bit more pleasing to the eye in this configuration. And I've got a stacked thanks word, and I put that on some craft paper so it would kind of stand out a little bit more. And I'm just gluing that onto the center. Like I said, this card kit, I really loved it, but it was a little bit difficult to think outside the box on this one a bit. So I did a bunch of these stencils in different colors, but the ones that turned out best were the ones that I ended up using. So here I'm trying to cut off a little edge of the card where my card base was a little bit bigger than the card front, and it turned out well for a change. And I'm taking a few of the small, I've got some small Nuvo sequins here in light gold, and I'm putting those all over the front of my card. And this card is very pretty. And I do love the font on the word thanks as well. So I think I'm going to be using this thanks die is going to be one of my favorites. I just have a feeling. I'll be using the die over and over again. So I'm getting all my little sequins glued down. And that's going to be it for card number 5. So I've got this bonus card that I did that you're going to see. I've got the sunflowers in totally different colors. Now I don't do a whole lot of slim lines, but I thought I wanted to put these sunflowers in a different configuration, and I didn't want to have to cut them in half. So I've got this this sunflowers. I did the stencil in pale tomato, raspberry jam, grape juice, early dawn, and blue Hawaii. Now these are all Hero Arts ink cubes that came in previous kits. I haven't bought any ink cubes separately. Any ink cubes I have came with kits that I've purchased in the past. So I've got this scalloped slimline die that I took and cut a piece of kind of lilac paper out of. And I also rounded all the edges on my slimline card. This is 3.5 by, what is it, by 8.5. And so now I am just gluing down this brightly colored set of sunflowers, my little red and purple sunflowers, the blue leaves. And I'm just putting that on the front of my card. Now I've got some mirrored silver cardstock that I took and I made a little shadow die for the word thanks. And I also took some blue paper that I thought kind of matched the leaves a little bit, and I used that for the word thanks. And so I am just going to line that up. I put some adhesive on the back of the thanks when I cut it out, so I didn't have to worry about gluing the thanks down to the silver cardstock and having it kind of, you know, get all over the place. And I thought it would be a little bit slick, so I just thought the double-sided adhesive would be the way to go. Now here's the thanks die that came with the kit and the hello die. I forgot to bring them out earlier, so this is me showing them to you now. And I'm going to put this word thanks kind of at an angle. I wanted it to fit totally on the lilac cardstock, and I thought this was just kind of whimsical. Now I've got these sequins that are a little bit pinkish iridescent. No idea where I got these from, but they're very pretty. And I am just taking the pink ones out, the pinkish iridescent ones, and I'm putting them all over the lilac cardstock. I kind of looked at one there and it just didn't look good against the floral. So I'm just keeping it to the purple. So again, we got those scattered all over the front of the card. I'm going to get those all glued down. So do you believe it's already almost the end of September? I think I ask this all the time with all my videos. Do you believe it's the end of August? Do you believe it's the end of July? Well, now it's almost the end of September. You know, wake me up when September ends, because it's just going so fast. So here is card number 6, my nice little fun bonus card. I'm going to have to make an envelope. I don't think I have very many slimline envelopes, but it turned out pretty. It's bright and pretty. So here's card number 1, number 2, 3, 4. Kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? Until you come to card number 6. I still think, I don't know, I like them all. Anyway, bye-bye.